Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with Mounted KEMMLER, which just still kind of seems wrong to me somehow, but there you go. Gives him a bit of mobility. Another viewer-submitted replay, this time from King Azazel. He's going to be taking the Barrow Legion up against the Greenskins, so let's get to it. KEMMLER here with a couple of Blood Knights, a couple of Bats as well. Plenty of Skeleton Spears and Skeleton Warriors with a nice core of Graveguard with great weapons here, with a Necromancer up on the Unholy Lodestone Corpse Cart. Let's see here, more Skeleton Warriors and Graveguard with great weapons, some Spears out to the flanks. We've got some Sternsmen as well. With Greenskins, a couple of Squig Herds up front. We've got the Mangy Marauders, line of mixed Biggins, Black Orcs. We've got a Giant, very good pick, Skarsnik. Let's see here, a Zappa probably, yep. No Vindictive Glare actually, just Sneaky Stabbin', Itchy Nuisance, and the Curse of the Bad Moon there. Also got some Black Orcs, more Biggins, some Boar Biggins as well. So let's see how this initial engagement gets underway here. You can see the Blood Knight's going to be charging in, and yeah, we'll see. They should be able to get some decent damage done here if they do get a clean open field charge. Does look like they even get a bit of a downhill advantage as well, so those Boar Biggins definitely going to take the downside of that. A bit of an escalation here as more Blood Knights pile in. Yeah, that initial charge on that unit of Boar Biggins definitely did a lot of damage. They still took some damage, but no Wah from Skarsnik, unfortunately. It looks like a Curse of Years. Yep, there it is. So if it's too late now, he didn't pop it on that initial phase. He could have probably popped it right while he saw that template pop up for the spell, but a little bit late there means that Skarsnik's not going to be able to pop that on the initial phase. Meanwhile, Skeletons and, oh man, I love the color scheme of the Barrow Legion. It looks absolutely awesome. Graveguard duking it out with Black Orcs here. KEMMLER's going to come over to this side and support. Nope, looks like actually turning the corner there. Not 100% sure. I haven't seen Krell pop up yet, so not sure where he's at, but nonetheless, Skeleton Warriors and Spears kind of piling in here. The Corpse Cart and Necromancer will definitely help support, and here comes Krell in the back line. I wonder if we're going to see Krell go after this Giant here. Oh yeah, Battle of Battles right here. We'll watch these guys as they come across the desert here. Krell going to get his axe out, start to chop at the ankles of the Giant here. Do a little dance as he gets pushed around a bit, but did get some good damage on that initial swing. Granted, the Giant just chatting it up, pushing through. Meanwhile, a very nice Curse of the Bad Moon hitting these Blood Knights, debuffing them a bit. If we go ahead and have a look here, the debuff is pretty good. Minus 27 melee defense, speed, as well as armor. So definitely some nice debuff, especially if you can layer that with Poison or Oracle Fix-It or something else. But you can see KEMMLER's coming out here to help support. I believe he has that Chaos Tomb Blade. Nope, no Chaos Tomb Blade. But nonetheless, he still has the Master of the Dead, which will help regenerate some health on those Blood Knights. So the Tomb Blade would have allowed him to heal even more and give a bit of extra melee attack. But trying to optimize costs here, I guess didn't include that. He does have the Cloak of Mists and Shadows, but unless I'm just missing it here, nope, I don't think he has it. Anyway, Krell here getting in on the Giant. Did take a ton of damage from the Giant actually, and between the degeneration and everything actually goes down there, but he did manage to do a pretty good amount of damage, about half the HP of that Giant. So considering that Krell is basically free and KEMMLER's a pretty cheap character to begin with, very cost effective. Speaking of cost effective, this Invocation of the Heck hitting both these Blood Knights, the Skeleton Warriors, and KEMMLER himself. Going to grind through these Savage Orc Biggins. Speaking of grinding, in the infantry center, it's definitely a grind out with these Black Orcs. Still slugging it out with the Graveguard here. Unfortunately, Night Goblins giving up their leadership, but Skarsnik and the Black Orcs continuing to fight. Mangy Marauders also in a very nice Overwatch position here, providing some damage into these Skeletons here. Probably ought to be going after the Graveguard with their AP missiles, but nonetheless, Skarsnik going to get a little bit isolated here. The Necromancer actually routing off the Night Goblin Shaman on the Corpse Cart. Let's just pretend that the Corpse Cart's what actually routed him off there. Meanwhile, over here, the Giant surrounded by Blood Knights and Spears. KEMMLER's in here supporting as well, getting a couple of cheeky rear attacks. So, yeah. Ooh, you're going to have to be careful, though, KEMMLER. giant bat to the face like that will definitely do some damage, but nonetheless, Blood Knights can be pulling away as they should, trying to get some cycle charge action in, and the Necromancer, again, coming around to help provide some extra healing. Looks like some skeletons have just crumbled over there, skeletons crumbling over here. These biggins just chopping through skeletons like nothing else. Up to 169 kills so far and rapidly climbing as they just bat their way through here. And yeah, Black Orcs also slugging it out. Black Orcs in a little bit of a rougher situation. The Mangy Marauders are providing some Overwatch fire, but these Black Orcs saturated in with the Graveguard like this aren't going to be the best, especially with the Corpse Cart supporting. Of course, it's going to give them the Unholy Lodestone as well as Vigor Mortis, putting their combat stats up to 29 and 31 with that bonus versus infantry, pretty sizable bonus versus infantry of 10. They can definitely make some good contact with these Black Orcs, have some good AP damage, and a very nice rear charge from those Blood Knights as well. Pretty decent... Curse the Bad Moon, sorry, just forgetting the name of the spell there. Could have been a little bit better placed there, but still did some good initial damage. If he had put it like right in the center of that big blob, yeah, it might have clipped the Black Orcs a little bit, but it might have crumbled a lot of those vampire units as well. The Blood Knights come over to whack the Mangy Marauders and the Night Goblin Shaman who had been regrouped here, and finally the Wa being popped. And that's just the power of Curse of Years, you know, those ability recharge time spells and abilities. Definitely the bane of the Greenskins, and I am of the opinion that Wa should not be a melee recharge. That would definitely help, you know, because you could still interrupt the Wa, but it's not like you're guaranteed not to get it within that initial phase of the battle. Because most recharge time abilities, honestly, at the end of the day, are only about 15 seconds, so if Wa was not a melee conditional recharge, maybe you give it a little bit of a longer recharge time just to kind of balance it out to compensate, but that way, you know, getting hit by that Arcane Unforging, that Curse of Years, those sorts of things, isn't going to be such a death sentence. Not that you can't necessarily win if that happens to you, but it definitely makes things a lot tougher. Skarsnik there, taking the Blood Knight charge very nicely, actually felling one of their unit models there, but then taking some hits. KEMMLER dealing out some undead justice, and yeah, that's going to be victory for the Barrow Legion. So, very fun battle. Big thanks to AJ for submitting that one. And yeah, those Blood Knights definitely cleaned up house at the end of the day. 91 and 89 kills, helped take down the Giant, cleaned up the Boar Boy Biggins, came in for a couple decisive rear charges there in the late game. Definitely like Blood Knights in this matchup, and notice that he didn't take any really large monsters in this build, which is one of the reasons why I decided to cast it. Really like this undead build. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the undead monster mash, especially with, you know, the like Blood Dragon, Double Terror guys. Just ugh, I think it's kind of gross. It's definitely effective, but something like this, just that classical, you know, heavy infantry, heavy cav rush from the vampire counts, especially with KEMMLER. Definitely very effective, and elite heavy cavalry, one of the better tools against the Greenskins. And obviously this build didn't have any terror outright, but we get Krell in there. He can cause some potential terror issues, so I definitely like that build quite a bit. Graveguard also trading very cost effectively in the center line with the support of that Necromancer on the Corpse Cart. If that Night Goblin Shaman had taken Vindictive Glare, which I would highly recommend in this matchup, it's excellent against all the big monsters that the vampire counts tend to bring in this matchup. There weren't that many good targets for the Vindictive Glare outside of the Necromancer on the Corpse Cart, but that was a really good target. You know, it provided tons of value with the healing and that Vigor Mortis, especially on those Graveguard with great weapons in the center. So yeah, I would definitely recommend taking Vindictive Glare in this matchup, and in this situation it would have been really good to use on the Corpse Cart, try and take that down. The Biggins, though, and some of the Black Orcs cleaning up plenty of kills in the center line, as you would expect. The Boar Biggins, if he had got that Wa initially when they were about to engage the Blood Knights, that engagement might have turned out a little bit differently, and he could have potentially swung the battle back. But as it is, you know, getting interrupted right at that last second by the Curse of Years was really rough. So definitely feels bad for the Greenskins here. But yeah, overall this build's pretty solid, I would say. The Giant's definitely a nice pick. Can clean up a lot of kills. Giants did get a bit of a change in the last patch. I haven't really talked about it too much. But if we go ahead and have a look here. They got, I believe, more weapon strength and more splash attack targets, so they just dish out more damage. They can really just plow down infantry lines, and not a lot of vampire counts units can do good damage to them. There are a few that can do some effective work. Things like banshees actually are pretty effective at taking down giants. If you have a banshee sitting in it like a pack of zombies, for example, the banshee can be hitting the giant pretty consistently, and because she's such a small target, his splash attacks are going to be distributed to all the zombies around her, so as long as she doesn't get singled out by him, the banshees can actually be a pretty good tool to counter giants. But I definitely like that pick in this particular matchup. A Ragnarok Queen can also be pretty good, the spider or the queen. Gives you a bit heavier armor, not quite as hard hitting obviously, but they also have poison, so the spiderling summons can be decent here. They're not out of this world, but certainly if you need to help bog down those elite heavy cavalry, again, the Blood Knights, things like that, the Ragnarok Queen can definitely be useful for that. But giants do have more HP. Obviously they have less armor, but they do hit a little bit harder, sacrifice the poison, and they're a bit slower as well, so definitely some trade-offs between these two monsters. But other than that, definitely a big fan of that build. But again, you definitely want to take Vindictive Glare. I would say Curse of the Bad Moon, definitely a fun spell. I would probably leave it at home, but Vindictive Glare, Sneaky Stab, and Itchy Nuisance are really going to be the ones that are going to be your bread and butter. I would even say you could super cheap out, and you can take this guy for very, very cheap with just Vindictive Glare. And of course, you're going to want Sneaky Stealing against the vampires, reduce their power recharge rate so they can't cast as many spells. You might also consider taking the Wand of Jet just for more Vindictive Glares if you need them. But yeah, fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.